Welcome to Randall's Retro Rewind, where retro games are reviewed from the gamer and the non-gamer perspective. In this video, we are going to review Daytona USA. This is a racing game that was developed by Sega AM2 and published by Sega. The game was first released as an arcade game in 1994. It was later released on the Sega Saturn in 1995, then in 1996 for the Windows PC. In 2011, it was re-released for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. My twin brother and I bought a Sega Saturn with our Christmas money, and our older brother bought a PlayStation. The game console came with a demo disc of Daytona USA, Virtua Fighter, Nights into Dreams, and Clockwork Knight. I loved playing all 4 games on the demo disc, but preferred to play Clockwork Knight and Nights into Dreams. I remember thinking that PlayStation was the dumbest thing I had ever heard of. Nintendo and Sega were the only video game companies that were worth investing in. Boy, was I wrong.
Our retail price is between $3.99 and $4.49. We have 10 software titles at retail in the next few days.
$2.99.
I bought myself a PlayStation after I started working and now love the PlayStation consoles, though I am much more of a Nintendo and Sega guy still. I wish that Sega would get back into the console business again. They truly made amazing consoles that were underappreciated. That is a rabbit hole that I don't want to go down today. For gameplay, I struggled with this. Not because of the game itself, but because all of my equipment struggles to emulate Sega Saturn games. You will see in the video footage that the game plays a little choppy, which is not how it played on the original Saturn. But given the fact that I am a poor teacher, I am unable to afford the exorbitant prices that people are trying to sell Sega Saturns and the games, especially the games that I like to play. Seriously, it would cost me more than a small fortune to build a Sega Saturn library. Seriously, look at these. Some of these games I played when I owned my Sega Saturn cost more than the price of even current gen consoles. Magic Knight's Ray Earth is selling for $1,700. One of my favorites, Dragon Force, is selling for $300. Shining Force 3 is selling for $335. And Shining Wisdom for $225. For my humble budget, I won't even buy a game unless it's $20 or under. Anything more than that is bought with gift cards. With that little tirade being done, let's get back to the actual game.
Rolling Star!
The game moves too fast for a novice racer like me. I would have been able to perform better if the track was rendered faster than it does in this game. There were times that the course would change and I was unable to make the adjustment in time and would wreck my car. I was a glutton for punishment because my personal car is a manual, and so I would race in the manual cars instead of the automatics. This extra level of complexity, which is not much, but enough. Seriously, you simply just press up or down on the D-pad to shift up or down. Still made it very difficult for me to control my vehicle. It took me wrecking my vehicle on the same turn for an entire race to realize, gee, maybe I should downshift before I hit that corner. Even with that common sense revelation, I still couldn't handle the stupid turn very well. I never played with an automatic, but I watched Corri play using the automatic, and I think she handled the turns better than I did. On top of how difficult this game was for me to play, the fact that I would place maybe 35 out of 40 on the easy course would give me a score that would make me third place on the leaderboard is just sad. Not much of a story to this game. You want to beat the other drivers and try to get first place, which honestly seems like it's impossible. I have seen that it is not, because I watched World of Longplay on this game and watched them get first place on every course. You have 8 laps to do it, and they didn't pass the first place car until they were on the 8th lap. So the game is not made to get the first place position easily. In the same video, it took the player halfway through the third of 4 laps to get first place on the medium course. On the hard course, it took into the beginning of the 2nd lap for them to make it into first, out of 2 laps only. The player made one mistake and was dropped down to 4th place and barely made it to first place before crossing the finish line. So I know it is possible to achieve first place, but not for a novice racer like me. If you want to see someone play this game exponentially better than Corri and me, then watch World of Longplays playthrough of this game. The Saturn version of this game is not multiplayer, which I thought it was, and I was sorely disappointed because I was hoping to play with Corri on this one. She has always been better at racing games than me, but us playing together on a racing game will have to wait for another video. The arcade version of the game included multiplayer, and when the game was ported to the Saturn, it removed multiplayer, but included the Saturn mode. The mode removed the timer for the laps and gives the player 4 cars instead of 2 to choose from. What a treat. I would prefer some multiplayer action. The setting of the game is the 3 courses that you can choose from. Beginner, known as 3-7 Speedway, Advanced, known as Dinosaur Canyon, and Expert, known as Seaside Street Galaxy. There is not much of a conflict unless you consider the computer players as a form of conflict. But there is not much to be said about conflict except for the rubber banding that is found in all racing games. I understand it is meant to provide a competitive edge, but sometimes it seems unfair in my book. The resolution of this game is where you place at the end. I know for me, I was lucky if I ever made it anywhere above the bottom 5 on any course. For quote-unquote characters, in this game you have 2 or 4 vehicles to choose from for each race. All vehicles are a stock car called the Hornet. In arcade mode, the 2 you have to choose from are automatic or manual transmission. In Saturn mode, you have 4 versions of the Hornet to choose from. Lucky you! 2 automatic and 2 manual transmissions with varying stats from one to the other. One automatic is faster than the other, but more difficult to handle, especially if you have fat thumbs like I do and accidentally shift down and don't realize it until people are passing you more than normal. The music for this game is great the first time you hear it, but with there being only 1 track used for each course, the music gets old very quickly. The rhythm is very fast-paced, which does help with the feeling of racing, but the repetitiveness of the tracks, not the racing, but the music tracks, though the easy course is very repetitive, makes the songs lose their appeal. I feel bad for the person who sang all 3 tracks in the game. Honestly, the guy has a decent voice, but the repetitiveness of the tracks makes his voice become annoying too, especially the main menu screen when begins repeating over and over and over again can cause a sane man to question his own sanity. The graphics on this game did not age well. I know I have said this before, but the graphics for the first wave of 3D video games are blocky and age about as well as Limburger cheese. Not to offend anyone, but the smell of Limburger cheese is offensive to my nose holes. The only part of the game that is 3D are the vehicles on the raceway, and all environmental graphics are two-dimensional. You don't really notice the 2D environment because you are too busy looking at the road, like a responsible and respectable driver. If you wreck the vehicle, it does begin to show damage, which is kind of funny. And somehow, taking a pit stop, which none of the computer players ever have to do, magically fixes all of the damage done to your vehicle. Can the NASCAR and Indy 500 get these pit guys to come work on their race cars? Sadly, the graphics for the Saturn version of this game pale in comparison to its arcade counterpart. Another negative to the graphics is that the environment would not render fast enough, which was probably a limitation of the Saturn or the equipment I was using to emulate. And it probably does run a lot better on the arcade. I have no idea because I have never played the arcade version. The gallop racing on the trunk of the vehicle and the hornet above the back bumper are pixelated, which does not show good quality graphics for a game of this era. It was fun to take a trip down memory lane and play one of the first Sega Saturn games from my childhood. I had high hopes for this game, but those hopes were sadly crushed when I played my first lap. The game does not control well for someone like me, and the limited number of tracks available to listen to can lead a man to having nightmares. The fact that it is a fight for a pro gamer to make it to first and keep the lead is discouraging. The fact that I was unable to even complete the advanced and expert courses except in Saturn mode shows the difficulty of this game. Arcade games are always designed to be money munchers, and sadly, they never port over to home consoles very well. If this game was not as difficult to even place in the top 10, would have made the game a more enjoyable play for me. I got frustrated many times during the game, but felt better when my wife, who plays racing games better than I do, had many of the same struggles I did. Overall, I give Daytona USA a 35 out of 100. Racing games are not my forte at all, but there are much better racing games out there than Daytona USA. These laps around memory lane hit my nostalgia bone, but the nostalgia disappeared very quickly.
Welcome to Corri's Corner, a non-gamer's perspective on video games. This Daytona game was a racing game. I love racing games, but not this one. It was very clunky with the controls, which I should have expected being an older game. I guess I'm just more modern game thriving, I guess, when it comes to the video games. I am normally the one that wins the racing games, but not this time. It's still a game I got to play with my hubby though, and that's fun. I do enjoy that. It's been a while from the time we recorded to me doing my recording. I had to go back and watch some gameplay to give myself a refresher. The flashing lights and the speed and just the graphics of the game were really hard for me. I don't know if it was my vertigo that got in there going messing things up. I don't know, but I just really struggled with all of that combined together. So I didn't play it very long. Most of the time was spent watching him play. When I went back and gave myself a refresher though, I was struck with how it says, "Gentlemen, start your engines." And that didn't hit me when I played the game, but watching it in that gameplay, I was like, hey, wait a minute. I'm a girl and I'm playing this. So that definitely aged it. That I don't think that would be in video games now. And it just struck me. I was like, all right, well, I'm playing a game that's old. I'm old. I guess we all get old, right? It happens. So this is not one of my favorite games. I wouldn't necessarily say you should go out and play it. Because, like I said, I do enjoy the racing games, but not this one. So play at your own risk, I guess, because it's not that fun. But please enjoy our video. Bye.
Alright, and now the wheels of review are going to determine what game we are going to review next. Oh, it looks like it is a Gamecube game to start us out. Now, what game for the Gamecube are we going to review? Oh, it's Super Monkey Ball. I remember playing this one as a kid. I hope you guys look forward to seeing this one.